A curious encounter. Zephyr gazed out at the endless expanse of stars, each one a glimmering beacon of possibility. As a renowned human explorer, he had ventured to the far reaches of known space, but this mission was different. His sleek, state-of-the-art ship, the Nebula Strider, was headed for the uncharted regions, where no human had gone before. He felt a familiar thrill course through his veins as he imagined what lay beyond the next star system. Would he find new worlds teeming with life? Ancient civilizations holding untold wisdom? Or perhaps something altogether unexpected? Zephyr's curiosity knew no bounds. Suddenly, an alarm blared through the ship's speakers, jolting him from his thoughts. Red lights flashed on the console, and the Nebula Strider shuddered violently. Zephyr gripped the controls, his knuckles turning white as he tried to steady the craft. "Come on, girl," he muttered through gritted teeth. "Don't fail me now." But the ship seemed to have a mind of its own. Panels sparked and smoke filled the cockpit as the Nebula Strider plummeted towards a nearby planet, its surface an eerie, iridescent blue. Zephyr braced for impact, his heart pounding in his ears. The landing was rough, but the ship's advanced shock absorbers kept Zephyr from being tossed around like a ragdoll. As the dust settled, he checked himself for injuries and was relieved to find none. He unbuckled his harness and stood on shaky legs, the acrid smell of burnt circuitry filling his nostrils. He needed to assess the damage and figure out where in the universe he had landed. Zephyr made his way to the airlock, grabbing his trusty multi-tool and a portable scanner on the way. The ship's ramp lowered with a hiss, and he stepped out onto the alien soil. The world that greeted him was unlike anything he had ever seen. Towering crystalline structures rose from the ground, their facets reflecting the light of the planet's twin suns. The air was thick with a sweet, heady scent that made Zephyr's head spin. He took a cautious step forward, his boots sinking into the spongy, iridescent vegetation. As he surveyed his surroundings, a flicker of movement caught his eye. Zephyr whirled around, his hand instinctively reaching for the pulse pistol at his hip. But what he saw made him freeze in his tracks. Standing before him was a being of surpassing beauty, with skin that shimmered like polished silver and eyes that glowed with an inner light. She wore a gossamer gown that floated around her like a cloud, and her long, translucent hair billowed in the gentle breeze. Zephyr's mouth went dry. He had encountered many alien species in his travels, but none had left him so utterly speechless. The being tilted her head, studying him with a mixture of curiosity and wariness. "Who are you?" she asked, her voice a melodic whisper that seemed to resonate in Zephyr's bones. He swallowed hard, trying to find his voice. "I'm Zephyr, an explorer from Earth. My ship malfunctioned, and I had to make an emergency landing." He paused, realizing he was rambling. "I mean you no harm." The being's gaze softened, and a small smile played at the corners of her lips. "I am Lyra, Princess of the Zilthian Empire. Welcome to our world, Zephyr of Earth." Zephyr's heart skipped a beat. A princess? He had stumbled upon alien royalty on his first day in uncharted space. As he looked into Lyra's mesmerizing eyes, he realized that this was only the beginning of an adventure that would change his life forever. Secrets of the Zilthian Empire. As Lyra led Zephyr through the shimmering corridors of the Zilthian Palace, he couldn't help but marvel at the advanced technology seamlessly integrated with the organic architecture. Holographic displays flickered to life as they passed, showing scenes of the Empire's history and achievements. Zephyr's curiosity was piqued, and he longed to learn more about this fascinating civilization. Lyra brought him to a secluded garden, where exotic flowers bloomed in a riot of colors and scents. She settled on a crystal bench, her gown pooling around her like liquid starlight. Zephyr sat beside her, his heart racing at their closeness. "Tell me about your empire," he said, eager to unravel the mysteries of this alien world. Lyra's smile faltered, and a shadow passed over her luminous features. "The Zilthian Empire is a marvel of technological advancement and cultural achievement, she began, her voice tinged with pride. But beneath the surface, there are cracks in the foundation. She went on to explain the rigid hierarchy that governed Zilthian society, where each individual was born into a specific role and expected to fulfill it without question. Those at the top, like Lyra's father, Emperor Daedalus, wielded absolute power, while those at the bottom toiled in servitude. Lyra herself felt trapped by the expectations placed upon her, longing for a life beyond the confines of her predetermined path. Zephyr listened intently, his heart aching for the young princess. He knew all too well the weight of societal pressure, having defied his own family's expectations to become an explorer. On Earth, we believe in the power of individual choice, he said softly, placing a comforting hand on Lyra's arm. Everyone should have the freedom to pursue their own dreams, regardless of their station in life. Lyra's eyes widened, and Zephyr saw a spark of hope ignite within their depths. You speak of a world I can scarcely imagine, she whispered, leaning closer. A world where one's fate is not sealed at birth. As they talked, Zephyr and Lyra discovered a deep connection, their different backgrounds giving way to a shared desire for understanding and change. They laughed and dreamed, their voices carrying on the fragrant breeze. For a moment, the weight of their respective worlds seemed to lift, and they were just two souls finding solace in each other's company. But their reprieve was short-lived. The garden's tranquility was shattered by the sound of heavy footsteps and the clanking of armor. A group of Zilthian guards, their faces obscured by helmets, marched towards them, weapons at the ready. Princess Lyra, the leader barked, his voice cold and unforgiving. You are to come with us immediately. The Emperor demands your presence. Lyra stood, her posture regal and defiant. And what of my guest? She asked, gesturing to Zephyr. He is under my protection. The guard's stance remained impassive. The human will be dealt with separately. Now, come with us, Your Highness. The Emperor does not like to be kept waiting. Lyra cast a desperate glance at Zephyr, her eyes conveying a silent apology. He nodded slightly, trying to reassure her that he would be all right. As she was led away, flanked by the imposing guards, Zephyr felt a sense of dread settle in the pit of his stomach. He knew that their forbidden friendship had not gone unnoticed and that there would be consequences for their actions. But as he sat alone in the garden, surrounded by the remnants of their shared dreams, Zephyr resolved to face whatever challenges lay ahead. For Lyra, for the chance of a better future, he would risk everything. The secrets of the Zilthian Empire weighed heavily on his mind as he was escorted from the garden, his fate uncertain. But one thing was clear, he would not abandon Lyra or the hope she represented. Even in the face of an emperor's wrath, Zephyr would stand firm, a human beacon of resilience in an alien world. The Emperor's Challenge. Zephyr stood before Emperor Daedalus, his heart pounding in his chest as he faced the imposing Zilthian ruler. The throne room was a cavernous space, its walls adorned with intricate murals depicting the empire's conquests and triumphs. The emperor himself was a formidable figure, his silver skin etched with the lines of centuries and his eyes burning with a fierce intelligence. Beside him, Lyra stood tall and proud, her gaze fixed ahead even as her father's anger radiated from him in palpable waves. Zephyr ached to reach out to her, to offer some measure of comfort, but he knew that any such action would only worsen their predicament. You dare to defy our laws, human? Emperor Daedalus's voice boomed through the chamber, echoing off the polished surfaces. You dare to fill my daughter's head with your poisonous ideas of individual choice and freedom? Zephyr met the emperor's gaze unflinchingly, drawing on the same courage that had propelled him to the far reaches of the universe. I meant no disrespect, Your Majesty, he said, his voice steady despite the fear coursing through his veins. I only sought to share my perspective, to foster understanding between our peoples. The emperor's lip curled in a sneer. Understanding? You presume too much, human. The Zilthian Empire has stood for 1,000 generations, our way of life perfected through the ages. We have no need for your primitive notions. Lyra spoke up then, her voice ringing with a quiet strength. Father, please. Zephyr has shown me that there may be other ways, that change is not always to be feared. Surely there is value in at least considering new ideas? Emperor Daedalus's eyes flashed with rage, and for a moment, Zephyr feared he might strike his own daughter. But instead, the Emperor turned his attention back to the human interloper, a calculating look settling over his features. Very well, he said, his tone dripping with disdain. If you are so convinced of humanity's worth, human, then you shall have the chance to prove it. I challenge you to a series of trials, designed to test your wit, your strength, and your resilience. If you succeed, I will consider your ideas and the potential for cooperation between our civilizations. But if you fail... He let the threat hang in the air, unspoken but undeniable. Zephyr's mind raced as he considered the Emperor's challenge. He knew that the trials would be designed to break him, to humiliate him and prove humanity's inferiority once and for all. But he also knew that this was his only chance to protect Lyra and to forge a path towards a better future for both their peoples. He squared his shoulders, meeting Emperor Daedalus's gaze with a determination that burned brighter than any star. I accept your challenge, your majesty, he said, his voice ringing with conviction. I will face whatever trials you set before me, and I will prove that humanity is not to be underestimated. The Emperor's eyes narrowed, and for a moment, Zephyr thought he saw a flicker of grudging respect in their depths. But it was gone as quickly as it had appeared, replaced by an icy resolve. So be it, human. Your trials begin at dawn. Prepare yourself, for failure is not an option. As the guards led Zephyr away to his quarters, he caught Lyra's eye, seeing the fear and hope mingled in her expression. He gave her a small nod, a silent promise that he would not let her down, no matter the cost. The weight of the task ahead settled on Zephyr's shoulders, but he refused to buckle under the pressure. He had faced countless challenges in his travels, had stared down the unknown with an unwavering spirit. This would be his greatest test yet, but he would not falter. For Lyra, for the chance to build a bridge between their worlds, Zephyr would face the Emperor's trials with all the strength and determination that humanity could muster. The fate of two civilizations hung in the balance, and he would not let them down. Trials of wit and resilience. As the first rays of the alien sun crept over the horizon, Zephyr found himself standing in the center of a vast arena, its walls shimmering with an eerie, pulsing light. The stands were packed with Zilthian spectators, their whispers and murmurs creating a discordant hum that filled the air. Emperor Daedalus sat in a place of honor, his expression unreadable as he surveyed the scene before him. Lyra was nowhere to be seen, but Zephyr could feel her presence, could sense her unwavering support even from afar. He drew strength from that bond, from the knowledge that he was not alone in this struggle. The first trial was one of intellect, a series of complex puzzles and riddles designed to test Zephyr's mental acuity. The challenges were unlike anything he had encountered on Earth, the logic twisted and alien, but he refused to be daunted. Drawing on his years of experience as an explorer, he approached each problem with a creative mind and a dogged determination. The Zilthians watched in stunned silence as Zephyr navigated the mental labyrinth, his solutions as elegant as they were unconventional. Even Emperor Daedalus leaned forward in his seat, his eyes narrowed as he observed the human's progress. But the trials had only just begun. Next came tests of physical endurance, each one more grueling than the last. Zephyr found himself racing through treacherous obstacle courses, his muscles burning and his lungs screaming for air. He scaled towering walls and swam through murky, monster-infested waters, all the while keeping his focus on the ultimate goal. Throughout it all, he could feel the eyes of the Zilthians upon him, could sense their grudging admiration even as they rooted for his failure. But Zephyr would not give them the satisfaction of seeing him falter. He pushed himself harder, faster, drawing on reserves of strength he never knew he possessed. In the shadows of the arena, Lyra watched, her heart in her throat as she witnessed Zephyr's struggles. She knew that he was risking everything for her, for the chance of a better future, and the weight of that knowledge was almost too much to bear. But she also knew that if anyone could succeed against such impossible odds, it was Zephyr. As the trials wore on, Zephyr's body grew battered and bruised, but his spirit remained unbroken. He faced each new challenge with the same fierce determination, the same unwavering belief in himself and in the power of human resilience. And slowly, impossibly, he began to turn the tide. The Zilthian's whispers turned from derision to awe as Zephyr overcame obstacle after obstacle, his human ingenuity and adaptability shining through in every moment. Even Emperor Daedalus found himself leaning forward in his seat, his eyes wide with disbelief as he watched the human defy the odds. He had designed these trials to be impossible, to break the human spirit and prove the superiority of the Zilthian way of life. But now, as he witnessed Zephyr's triumphs, a flicker of doubt began to grow in his mind. As Zephyr stood before the final trial, his body exhausted but his eyes blazing with determination, he knew that everything hinged on this moment. The challenge before him was the most daunting yet, a test of both physical prowess and mental fortitude. But he refused to back down, refused to let Lyra or humanity down. With a deep breath, he stepped forward, ready to face whatever lay ahead. The fate of two worlds rested on his shoulders, but he would not falter. For Lyra, for the chance of a better tomorrow, Zephyr would give everything he had. The final trial awaited, and with it, the chance to change the course of history forever. A new era dawns. Zephyr stood before Emperor Daedalus, his body battered but his spirit unbroken. The final trial had pushed him to the very limits of his endurance, but he had emerged victorious, a testament to the indomitable human spirit. The Zilthian spectators watched in stunned silence, their preconceptions about humanity shattered in the face of Zephyr's triumph. Emperor Daedalus rose from his throne, his expression a mix of disbelief and grudging respect. He approached Zephyr, his eyes searching the human's face for any sign of weakness or deceit. But he found only strength and honesty, a purity of purpose that could not be denied. "You have passed the trials, human," the Emperor said, his voice echoing through the arena. "Against all odds, you have proven yourself worthy." Zephyr bowed his head, feeling the weight of the Emperor's words settle upon him. "Thank you, Your Majesty," he said, his voice rough with exhaustion and emotion. "But I did not do this for myself. I did this for the chance of a better future, for both our peoples." The Emperor was silent for a long moment, his gaze distant as if seeing the Zilthian Empire through new eyes. When he spoke again, his voice was heavy with the weight of centuries. "I have been blind, human. Blind to the potential of your species, to the value of new ideas and ways of thinking. You have shown me that strength comes in many forms, and that true power lies in the ability to adapt and grow." Lyra stepped forward then, her eyes shining with tears of joy and pride. She took Zephyr's hand in her own, and in that moment, the barriers between their worlds seemed to melt away. They stood together, a human and a Zilthian, united in their belief in a better tomorrow. "Let this be a new beginning," Emperor Daedalus declared, his voice ringing with conviction. "Let us forge a path of cooperation and understanding, a path that celebrates our differences and builds upon our shared strengths." The spectators erupted in cheers, their voices rising in a chorus of hope and unity. Zephyr and Lyra stood at the center of it all, their bond a shining example of what could be achieved when two cultures came together in the spirit of friendship and mutual respect. In the days and weeks that followed, the Zilthian Empire underwent a profound transformation. The rigid hierarchy that had once defined their society began to crumble, replaced by a new system that valued individual choice and the pursuit of one's passions. Lyra took her place as a leader of this new era, her vision and compassion guiding her people towards a brighter future. And Zephyr remained by her side, a constant source of support and inspiration. Together, they worked to build bridges between their civilizations, to foster a new age of exploration and discovery. They traveled the stars, visiting distant worlds and learning from the myriad cultures they encountered. Their love story became the stuff of legend, a shining beacon of hope in a universe that had once seemed so cold and unforgiving. And as they stood hand in hand, gazing out at the infinite expanse of space, they knew that anything was possible. For Zephyr and Lyra, for the Zilthian Empire and for humanity, a new era had dawned. An era of unity and understanding, of endless possibility and boundless dreams. The future stretched out before them, a canvas waiting to be painted in the colors of their shared destiny. And so, the story of the human explorer and the alien princess came to a close, but their legacy would endure for generations to come. A legacy of courage, compassion, and the unshakable belief that when two hearts come together, no force in the universe can stand in their way.